winner by submission due to a dark choke, Khamzat Boy!
Did you know that Khamzat Chimeav holds the record for the fastest consecutive win in modern UFC history?
Just like that! If you have fight, give me fight.
That's right, but how long did it take him to create this phenomenal record? The fastest streak in UFC history was achieved by Chimeav, who won 3 UFC matches in a span of 66 days and 2 UFC matches within 10 days.
I want to fight next week. Doesn't matter when.
Is that
today, tomorrow?
Is
one
that
more fight? I'm so hungry.
In mixed martial arts, being dubbed one of the greatest is equivalent to having your fighting talent certified. Over the years, we've witnessed phenomenal fighters make a mark in the UFC world. Jose Aldo, John Jones, Conor McGregor, along with a list of other legendary fighters, have taken a toll in UFC. However, to be listed among the greatest of all time is like entering the elite company of warriors in the history of MMA. The UFC could need a breakout star since Conor McGregor is no longer very active, John Jones is not very dependable, and Ronda has long since retired. Today, the newest UFC sensation, Khamzat Chimeav, is breaking all odds and walking through the path of these legendary fighters. He's gone against what is customary, typical, or envisioned as he keeps creating a legacy for himself in UFC. Khamzat Chimeav has been compared to the UFC lightweight champion, Khabib, due to his fierce straight punches and winning streak. Interestingly, Chimeav demonstrated his one-punch knockout ability in his most recent fight, when he defeated Gerald Meerschaert.
just like that!
As a result, comparisons to Khabib may be presumptuous. Throughout his career in the UFC, the Chechen phenomenon has shown himself to be a distinct competitor with a frame suitable for both middleweight and welterweight. Just like his abilities, Khamzat Chimeav exudes mystery. But who is he, and how is he able to rise up to this standard? It all dates back to 1994, when Khamzat was born in Chechnya, Russia, and was thrust into a challenging environment. He was born during the Chechen War and subsequently experienced childhood during the Second Chechen War. He once addressed his upbringing by describing a horrifying incident in which he fell and broke his lip, nose, and teeth. This explains why he has a big scar on his face. Khamzat and the Chechen people lived in challenging times, surrounded by continual danger from violence and catastrophe. Guerrilla warfare, suicide bombings, terrorism, and assassinations were all common during this period in Chechnya. Khamzat and his family were among the Chechens who realized this way of life was unsafe and sought safety elsewhere in the world. Khamzat moved to Kalmar in Sweden along with his mother and brother when he was 18 years old. He made a decision to continue wrestling after settling down in Sweden. He earned a bronze medal at the junior level of the Russian National Championships, which he was renowned for in his home country. Khamzat started wrestling when he was 5 years old, and with his experience, he quickly took control of the Swedish wrestling scene. At the Swedish Freestyle National Championships, Khamzat won the gold medal in 2016 and 2017 at 86 kilograms. He went up the weight divisions in 2018 and won gold at 92 kilograms. With all of this wrestling success, Khamzat made the decision to start training for MMA in the hopes of one day competing on the big stage. So, he began attending the All-Star Training Center for formal training after relocating to Sweden's capital, Stockholm. Alexander Gustafsson, a 3-time contender for the light heavyweight championship and a legendary UFC fighter, also attends this training center. Khamzat was keen to pursue a career in mixed martial arts after meeting his match. He began his MMA career in 2017 with a string of amateur matches. In September, he made his amateur debut and won with a Bravo choke submission in round 2. In November, he engaged in another fight and triumphed once more through a guillotine choke in the second round. Khamzat competed in his final amateur match in April 2018 after a few months of training and preparation, and he triumphed with an amazing first-round TKO, technical knockout. A few weeks later, Khamzat made the decision to go pro because he believed he was ready for the next challenge. He made his professional debut at a local fight promotion in Uppsala, Sweden, late in May 2018, a month after turning pro. Khamzat knocked out his opponent in the second round after defeating him. A few months later, in August of 2018, Khamzat fought again for Swedish promotion and this time won via rear naked choke submission in the first round. Khamzat was blazing a trail as he remained unbeaten as an amateur, winning every fight by knockout, and he already had 2 finishes in his first 2 professional matches. Motivated to maintain his momentum, Khamzat made the choice to sign with Brave Combat Federation. one of the MMA organizations with the quickest rate of expansion worldwide. Khamzat made his brave CF debut against American prospect Sidney Wheeler in late December of 2018. Wheeler was swiftly defeated by Khamzat after he attempted a takedown before grabbing Wheeler's back and launching a hailstorm of devastating hammer fists for a 35-second TKO in the opening frame. 5 months later, in April 2019, Khamzat faced up against the unbeaten Russian prospect Ikram Aliskerov. He put on a bossy display, landing an uppercut that knocked Aliskerov out cold in a matter of seconds. Even though Khamzat had previously put on an incredible performance of his skills, this was the first time the mixed martial arts community completely understood Khamzat's true potential, which was greatness. Following his incredible performance in December, Khamzat entered the ring once more against a strong foe. This time, it was Mzwandiel Hwangwa, a promising South African fighter who had never lost and had won all of his matches by knockout. In October of 2019, Khamzat faced Hwangwa and once again delivered a performance that was nothing short of masterclass. Right away, Khamzat went for a takedown, brought Hwangwa to the ground, and held him there for the duration of the round. As evidence of his ongoing dominance in the second round, Khamzat physically carried Hwangwa across the canvas to his corner of coaches, where he was thrown to the ground and held while waiting for further orders. In response to advice from his instructors, Khamzat takes Hwangwa's back and applies a Bravo choke to put Hwangwa to sleep. Very few people were surprised when Khamzat defeated his opponent and triumphed in a decisive manner once more. With a perfect finishing percentage of 100% and a perfect 6-0 record, Khamzat was prepared for the spotlight. He firmly anticipated a call-out to the big fight because he was certainly on the UFC's radar. The phone call came in July of 2020 when he had a middleweight fight scheduled against Welsh powerhouse John Phillips. With an impressive 20 victories by knockout, Phillips entered the fight with a 22-9 record and a 100% finishing percentage. Fighting out of Stockholm, Sweden, Khamzat, who was 26, fixed Phillips with a hard gaze without blinking. Khamzat had only been practicing in mixed martial arts for 4 years when he stormed into the UFC and was prepared for whatever was ahead. The moment the battle starts, Khamzat enters the middle of the octagon, rapidly lands a body kick, and then executes a double leg takedown. For more guidance, Khamzat then positions Phillips' cage side and strategically close to his group of coaches. Khamzat then starts to throw nasty elbows and ground and pound after a few orders. Khamzat continues to batter Phillips with blows for the duration of the round, thus terminating the fight and giving Boers what was probably scored as a 10-8 round. The unified rules of mixed martial arts states that in MMA, a 10-8 round is where one fighter wins the round by a significant margin. In other words, complete control. While Khamzat smiles and eagerly awaits the opportunity to complete what he had started, Phillips is terrified and has facial injuries as the second round gets underway. In the 11th second of the second round, Khamzat successfully completes another double leg takedown and begins preparing for the finish. Khamzat choked and locked him in for the finish after converting to side control. After a brief period, Phillips taps, ending the situation.
He's got it.
There's the tap. Wow. Khamzat Chimeav by submission, and he stays undefeated.
Khamzat was once again victorious while maintaining his perfect record and effortlessly defeating his opponent in the UFC. Phillips had only managed to land 2 strikes compared to Khamzat's 124 hits. A complete and total victory for Khamzat. Khamzat was awarded the $50,000 Performance of the Night bonus by UFC President Dana White following the match. Coming from the war-torn Chechnya, this was everything Khamzat Chimeav could have hoped for. It was a huge step in the right direction, but for Khamzat Chimeav, this was just the beginning of things to come.
If you have fight, give me fight. When you want, I'm gonna fight here. I'm gonna be champion here, 77 kilo.
No matter who Chimeav fights next, I recommend tuning in for a thrilling, expert, and amazing performance. In the end, Khamzat Chimeav will undoubtedly go down in history as the best mixed martial artist and UFC fighter ever known.